Welcome back to the show. Check out these headlines. Congress looking to reform the SEC as the SEC gets trampled by federal courts. We got that and so much more. By the way, DAI and myself took the fight inside the DC Beltway last night. We're going to bring it to you. You're going to love it. Jerome Powell on CBDCs, but the rules are saying something different. We're going to get into that. Christian Carlos in the news, 90% of stable coins. We got Ripple joining them all. Who is all? We're going to tell you if somebody would just roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content and digperspectives.com to help support the channel as well. $2.67 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is up 5.3%, 67,500 for Bitcoin right now, 3,500 plus for Ethereum, 104 billion plus market cap for Tether. XRP back at the number 7 spot, slipping one to 61 cents here. We're up 4.5 on the 24-hour, but we're still off by 9.8 on the 7-day, and much like the rest of the market. So everything's moving together. That's what we need to notice there. That's the takeaway. We're ranging now between 57 and 62 cents. Now, yesterday we had like a 10-cent swing in price, right? So it was fluctuating quite a bit in that 24, 48 hours period there. But it's starting to tighten a little bit. So we'll see what goes on from here. But we know that the charts are looking pretty explosive. So keep your head on a swivel no matter which way it goes. Now let's look at this. Oh, before we get into this, I want to tell you about this right here. It's linked to, ladies and gentlemen, and don't forget that they have the most incredible private equity in the world, and I'm not even kidding right now, and the opportunities are just amazing. If you want Uphold, you want Circle, you want Ripple, they have it. And, you know, but it doesn't last long. So if you're going to get it, go get it, because you know, it goes very quickly on the platform and you never know when they're going to get another block. The other thing I want to suggest to you is this. I know there's a lot of people hearing my voice that qualify to be accredited investors, and you think it's just this big, long, arduous process. It just isn't. It's very simple, and it's even quicker to fund your account. It's really remarkable what they've done to streamline the process. Do not count yourself out. Make sure you hit the link below to my sponsor and get started today. It is a remarkable opportunity. All right, let's take a look at this. I want to start right here. It's securitized. Now, you guys know that we talked about BlackRock is tokenizing their funds, right? And they started by tokenizing the USD stablecoin fund. And Chad Steingraber says they're using Securitize to do this, and Securitize is jointly funded by Ripple, Morgan Stanley, NTT Data, and others. That is a nice reminder right there from Chad. Shout out to Chad. Give him a follow. And this was breaking news yesterday. Now, I was hustling and bustling because I got some breaking news for you, and it's about ETHgate and Ethereum and a level playing field. And this broke on the same day. You couldn't have timed it any better. Ethereum Foundation is under investigation by a state authority, says CoinDesk. And then we move to this piece, which it reaffirmed again from Watcher Guru. SEC is pursuing legal campaign to classify Ethereum as a security. I said here, in an effort to save face, we want to pay attention because this is what is happening. In an effort to save face, I feel the SEC is pursuing Ethereum as a security. And possibly Joseph Lubin, Vitalik Buterin, and others involved in the ETH ICO. However, let's understand crypto in and of itself is not a security, but the ICO that ETH had most certainly was. There's a difference, and we need to make sure Congress doesn't get that wrong when making legislation. All we ever wanted was a level playing field. Now, there's another angle to all of this as well. We're going to get to that in a second here. So let's take a look at that. Before we hear this clip, I want to bring you to something. Tony from Thinking Crypto put out this great thread on storm brewing for Ethereum, and he goes through the whole what we know about Bill Hemmon and Jay Clayton approval of ETH and all of this. He lays out all of it. But I want to highlight this, that I want to add this. The SEC is in a bit of a pickle because William Hinman gave a free speech to Ethereum. So instead of suing Ethereum, over the original ICO, which is in fact a security fundraise, not the token itself. The SEC has to focus on Ethereum when it changed from proof of work to proof of stake being a security. Pay very close attention to this argument. Can you imagine the nightmare for the SEC if the ETH Foundation, Lubin, and others get discovery for all things related to the ETHgate issue? Think of it. Joseph Lubin and Vitalik Buterin, if they get sued over the ICO fundraise, which was a security fundraise, if that were to happen, then it would give them the right, because they're being sued, to ask for discovery. And then we could get into all those things that the FOIA from Empower Oversight has been doing so amazing on their work. And the SEC keeps trying to stall, delay, and deny them the materials that they keep asking for. So that's why I believe we're seeing this angle here where ETH 2.0 is absolutely the target now and not the ICO. Pay very close attention. It's the little things that matter, right? So let me keep moving here because I want to bring you to something else here. This is the SEC overreach and the examination of that inside of the Congress's committee here, and Representative French Hill laying it down. Ladies and gentlemen, take a listen to this.
I thank our panel for being with us today. We've heard directly from the SEC director level officials over the course of the last few months, and we've certainly enjoyed having Chairman Gensler here to have his point of view on behalf of the commission. So it's great to have your expertise, and we thank you for being with us. You know, not only has the SEC lost in the court of public opinion, even on a bipartisan base here on Capitol Hill, but the agency is now getting trampled by the federal courts as well, especially as it relates to digital assets. In July 2023, a New York judge determined that Ripple Labs did not violate federal securities law by selling its XRP token on public exchanges. In fact, in that case, they were referred to as being arbitrary and capricious. Last August, the court rejected the SEC's reasoning for blocking Grayscale's Bitcoin trust from converting to an exchange-traded fund. And just in the last few days, a Utah judge imposed sanctions on the SEC for, quote, bad faith conduct and, open quote, gross abuse of power, close quote, that the commission had demonstrated in a case against Dropbox. And this is important because we haven't talked about this in a long time in this committee. And as a result of that gross abuse of power, the commission is required to pay the legal fees, which means that our constituent tax dollars are now being used to pay for the SEC's overreach and failure.
That's exactly what I said yesterday. You know, I think I'm going to be making a campaign donation to Mr. Hill when this is over. I mean, good gracious. I mean, what a mess. What a mess. Which is what prompted us last night. That's digital asset investor, the GOAT himself, and the GOAT of Capitol Hill, baby. It's Senator Chuck Grassley. And I'm going to tell you, this is one of the few right here, and he's just like it when he tells you that's how he is. That's how he is. This man is all about getting the people what they deserve, a level playing field, protecting whistleblowers. I mean, it's remarkable what this man has done in his career inside the Beltway. And he doesn't mind chastising the people inside the Beltway either, because he did plenty of that last night too. But I would like to thank Senator Chuck Grassley for taking the time to speak with us. And I'd also like to thank Empower's Oversight's Tristan Levitt and Jason Foster, as we got to spend time with them as well, and for inviting us. It was so great to speak with all of you about ETHgate and getting a level playing field for all of crypto. Empower Oversight have been critical in helping to get the answers we need from the SEC, and we couldn't do it without you. And I tell you, we look forward to our continued efforts in working with you to help expose corruption and protect whistleblowers. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing with Next Steps, because Senator Grassley said he wants to know more about all of this, and he asked DAI and myself to continue to follow up with him, and we will. And I tell you, I couldn't be more excited to bring this kind of attention to this space, because this is the quickest way to get a level playing field. We don't want an unfair advantage. We want a level playing field, right? So that's really all we're after here, ladies and gentlemen. You give us that, and everything else falls to the floor. and let innovation be the winner. Whoever's got the best tech, right? That's how we do it. All right, then there's this, speaking of the best tech. This is Federal Reserve's Jerome Powell being directly questioned about whether they're working on a CBDC in a secret lab and going to spring it on us at the right moment. Take a listen here.
To Congress that you are going to wait for approval before the Fed does anything, launches anything. But folks like House Majority Whip Tom Emmer have said that the Fed is either actively researching or hiring personnel to study the implications of the CBDC. Can you give us any clarity on what the Fed is doing right now on a digital dollar?
Sure. So I think we've been pretty transparent on this, but I'll try harder. So we are not getting ready to, we haven't proposed, we haven't come to a conclusion that we should propose or anything like that, that Congress consider legislation to authorize a digital dollar. And it would take legislation by Congress signed by the president to give us the ability to do what we think of as a CBDC, which is really a retail CBDC with the public of it. So we're just a long, long way from that. What we are doing, and I think what every major central bank is doing, is we're trying to stay in the frontiers of what's going on in digital finance.
And that's basically what it goes on to say. But what I want to highlight here is notice that he said a retail CBDC. You got to watch these people, right? Because they'll act like, oh, yeah, well, that's a world away from a wholesale CBDC. Well, we were talking, I said retail CBD. I didn't say wholesale, right? They'll act like you said ketchup or mustard, right? You know, it's this, you got to watch it. So to me, there is a world of difference when he really goes out of his way to say retail CBDC. Don't take wholesale CBDC off the table, because Smoke Dog's been at it again. And look what he's kicked up here. The Federal Reserve already has legal authority to launch and operate retail CBDC distributed on FedNow payment service provider. Listen, this is what he found here. Take a look at here. This reinforces the Fed's legal authority to develop and launch and operate FedNow, and arguably even to issue a retail CBDC distributed by payment service providers, much as banknotes are distributed by banks. Gee whiz. You know, you could actually say Ripple's like a payment service provider. Could they issue that too? Wow. Could XRP one day be that if they get enough liquidity in it? Of course it could. Of course it could. We don't know if it will. Here's even more evidence. When Smoke Dog goes down the trail, you better watch out now. I'm going to tell you what. This guy's got it. Digital dollar is in line with the precedent set by FedNow initiative, which Ripple is a part of, in that it provides real-time settlement to inherently digital, portable, to tokenized cash without needing an intermediary to debit and credit accounts. Isn't that what this is about? But we have to remember something here, because the Internet of Value is coming, and I want you to listen to Chris Giancarlo tell you that it's coming. Take a listen.
The Internet of Value is coming. Money is going to exist on digital networks in the future, and the issue is going to be less the matter of the value and more the matter of values. And if we could get the values right, if people around the globe knew that anything that uses the dollar as a reference point will respect their legitimate rights to privacy, then the United States is going to win this game. We're going to come from kind of being absent at the table to leading the table. Why? Because people that aspire to freedom worldwide will aspire to own dollar-referenced instruments. And that's what I think, that's where I call my book, The Fight for the Future of Money. That's the fight right now. The fight is about the values of dollar-based digital systems of value.
He's a million, you know what I mean? He's so spot on, forget about it. It's unbelievable what he's saying. The integrity values of how it's designed. If you design it so it's like TikTok and it's tracking everything you do that's on and off TikTok on your computer, that's no good. The values of that, the integrity and design of that is no good. The Chinese yuan, same way, and they've got it tied to a credit score, a social credit score. No good. But to his point, if you can bring in like the right to privacy and show people that it's actually there in its value and design, then you really have something that will remain desirable around the world, because we already know that many countries are making CBDCs for the very opposite reason. And let us not forget this fun fact here. And by the way, get your ticket to XRP Las Vegas. I'm having a fireside chat with the Honorable Cristian Carlo on stage, and we will be getting into a much deeper level about this conversation on digital dollars and what it has to look like, and what are the impending catalysts that are hanging around on the globe right now, and what we're up against. We are going to get into this into a large degree, and how we could keep the US dollar dominant strong for the next 150 years without having to rely on just one commodity, without having to rely on an allied deal with other countries that back out like they're doing right now in Saudi Arabia. But remember this fun fact. 90%, according to Chainalysis here, 90% of stablecoin activity takes place in stablecoins pegged to the US dollar. Yeah. So once we have regulation and prudential regulation to properly back and monitor these assets, we're number one, baby. We're number one right now. That's why the U.S. isn't concerned, but they better be, because there's more catalysts out here that need to be taken under consideration. That's why Janet Yellen 2 weeks ago referred to stablecoin legislation and stablecoins as a national security issue, because they need to have real legislation on the matter so they can bring the oversight to it, because we're already the leader. And don't forget about this. Digital Pound Foundation. And you know what? If you're not following Bank XRP, by the way, it should be 1.9 million, not 193,000. This guy's an OG in the space. Digital Pound Foundation, Digital Dollar Project. Yeah, don't forget. Ripple's a part of both of them. Remember when they joined the Digital Dollar Project? Yeah, September 22. That happened. We already know they've been a part of the Digital Pound Project for a long time. And then don't forget about the Digital Euro Association they're involved with. FedNow they're a part of. United Nations they're a part of. Working with the IMF, the World Economic Forum. It's just the facts. And then there's even more clarity here about what's going on. Web3 banking landscape consists of several layers and entities, and the bottom layers are technological providers. And look at there. Ripple sitting right there. This is it. We're here. The only thing we need now is clarity, because what we already know is Ripple works with central banks. That's what they do. And it's all going to kick open once we get the clarity, because they're not going to use it until they have the clarity. That has become apparently obvious, right? And shout out to Australia's Policy Summit for having Ripple on stage with Rahul Ivani. Another example of the deep level of connections around the world that Ripple has. What an incredible moment of time we are in. We are so close to getting that global cooperation and clarity. And watch out, world, because it'll never be the same once we do. Come on in, not financial advice from me or anyone else. We're going into digperspectives.com to the Freedom Zone, and you can too support the channel for almost next to nothing. And boy, do we take on some fun topics here. And we're going to get into it today. And today we're going to go a little further down into this ETHgate issue, and it goes well beyond ETHgate. And you know that we've dealt with censorship issues. We've seen the GOAT in this space, digital asset investor, be silenced on X because of this issue. So I'm going to tackle it inside the Freedom Zone just for our own safety. That's how we're doing it today. You will want to know this information, because it is about things that went on well before ETHgate, and they could send someone to prison if they're pursued. We're going into the Freedom Zone right now. I hope you'll join us. Come on in. All